Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tell Your Story. I'm your host, Todd Nesloni, and each week I look to bring you a different guest who has encouraged, inspired, or challenged me in one way or another, and bring them on to share some of their story in hopes that it inspires you to tell some of yours. I am thrilled today to have Dr. Harold Abraham on with me. Harold, thank you so much for being here. Tell everybody kind of who you are.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I think my story is unlike what some might imagine. So, I started my schooling experience in an awful way. I struggled tremendously as a student with learning disabilities. And it was really only because of some great coaches, teachers, and administrators that I was able to find the appropriate tools, techniques, and strategies to become a successful learner. And it didn't really happen until my final year of high school. I graduated high school, believe it or not, with a GPA of a 1.9 and went on to be a student athlete, fortunately, in college where it finally clicked.
Yeah.
And I started to use those tools that I had learned finally, and it all came together. Was able to go into a field in concentration that I was really passionate about in education and wanted to be a lot like those same teachers, coaches, and administrators. I felt the impact that they made on me was so impactful that I wanted to be that person for kids at some point or another down the line. And you know, going to class each and every day, knowing that that was the reason that I was attending those classes because the end goal was, making such an impact on people. It forced me to do well,
Yeah.
and I was able to graduate and speak at my college convocation. And it was just a great full circle moment. That was kind of my story growing up and kind of transitioning into being a successful learner and knowing that it's so important to pay it forward.
I love that though. I love that that is your driving force and what helped you to succeed, to work hard, to get what you needed to get. Because I think when that's our driving force, we tend to outperform any expectations that we have others placed on us or that we placed on ourselves. And so, knowing you wanted to be in education and that's what you were going to school for, and obviously the coaches and all that playing a big part. So was your heart always drawn to secondary?
No, actually, it was the opposite. So
Ah,
my heart has always been drawn to elementary. And I've been fortunate enough to have experience in administration at every level of schooling, from elementary to middle school to high school. And my favorite has always been elementary.
mhm. And so, do you ever see yourself potentially going up to secondary?
At some point or another, maybe so.
Yeah.
But I've always felt that if you do elementary schooling the right way, from either a teacher position or an administrative position, you're essentially a celebrity. You
Yeah.
walk in the building and they look up to you and you see their eyes light up. And that's such an infectious and powerful feeling, knowing that, they appreciate you and that they know that because you care for them, that they're going to be okay and they're
Mhm.
going to be successful. So it's a good feeling. I've always said, at the elementary level, if you walk up and down the hallway under normal circumstances and you get 100 high fives, it's a bad day, right? So
Yep.
I think elementary is an awesome place to be. Maybe at some point or another, I'll dabble into, the secondary experience, but
Mhm.
I see a lot of joy in where I currently am. I think it's an amazing place.
I love to hear always when I talk to people about, was there something that triggered in you that, hey, I might want to be in a leadership position on this campus? Or was it always kind of in your mindset of it's always going to be my goal to kind of move up, move forward? Or was there something specific that you were like, maybe I have this in me?
Right. I really looked up to my principals growing up. I think I was fortunate to have some good ones. And because of them, I knew at some point or another I wanted to go into administration. Uh,
Right.
and my first teaching position, I had a principal that was absolutely fantastic. And she really took me under her wing. She saw potential in me, which I'm so appreciative of. And she helped me, just through navigating, being a first year teacher, and being successful in so many different aspects of teaching. And over the years, she kind of put me in different leadership positions, and I saw how she handled them. I saw and kind of gravitated to the different programming ideas that she had and wanted to be a part of them. And I think she was the reason that I went into administration in the first place.
I love that. Well, one thing that I always love to ask too during these conversations, Harold, is, there's so many of us in education who are learning from others online, who are learning from others in person, who are moving up in the ranks and trying different leadership positions. And one thing that I find that's consistent across all those areas is that at some point or another, we all kind of face these feelings of doubt or insecurity, or is what I bring to the table enough or as good as what somebody else is bringing to the table? So I'd love to hear from you, kind of, what do you do to keep doubt from taking root in your own life?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think we experience that doubt each and every day. And the skills that I've kind of garnered over the years, and it takes some time to kind of develop these skills, is being comfortable with not knowing all the answers.
Mm,
At least that's it for me.
yeah.
And I've been in administration for close to 8 years now. And thinking back to my initial years in administration, I always wanted to help as much as I possibly could. And in my first year, I felt, disappointed if I didn't have an answer.
Mhm.
Now I just see it as an opportunity to get that answer, to come back with it, and then provide those supports.
Yeah.
So, I now feel comfortable in telling teachers or telling parents or even students, that's a really good question. I don't have the answer right now. Let me do some homework and I'll get back to you as soon as I have it.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's a skill in itself.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because what you just shared there, all that you really changed was your perspective on the situation. And I think that's something for people to hear too, is that sometimes it's just that simple, is when we change that little piece, it can make a huge impact on us. And
Right.
I'd love to know, Harold, with all the things that you're doing, and I realize there is no perfect answer to this question, but I love to ask anyway, how do you balance? How do you keep yourself at some level of balance? I know we're never good at it always, especially as educators. We're the worst at this. But what
Right.
do you do to kind of maintain sanity?
Yeah, I think that's been the greatest challenge for me personally. So that probably is a consistent theme that you see with administrators or teachers or anybody in education, frankly. Um, I really enjoy working out, so that's kind of an outlet that I have, and I make sure that I get to the gym or I play hoops as
Mm,
frequently as I can, and I try to make that time prevalent within my schedule.
right.
And for many years, I was also the administrator that took pride on not eating my lunch throughout the day and getting to it at some point, or having a protein bar in my pocket and eating on the go. And slowly but surely, I'm getting into the habit of taking 15 minutes,
Yeah.
sitting down, having that lunch. Even if you're on the phone with a colleague talking about a situation, just taking the time to sit and decompress a little bit is really important. And sometimes it takes a while to gain that understanding, but I think the more time and attention you put into your own well-being, the more productive ultimately you'll be. I mean, we talk about the importance of social and emotional learning for kids and its benefits for them and our benefits for staff, and sometimes we put ourselves last,
Mhm.
and we kind of need to put ourselves in the same equation.
I love that answer so much, and I'm in such agreement with you. I think a lot of us used to wear that badge of busyness,
Right.
where it was like, because I didn't get lunch, I'm killing it, or I was here till 9 o'clock at night, I must be knocking everything off my list. When the reality is, you're not really taking care of yourself by not doing those things. And so
Right.
it's not that I need an hour lunch, like you said. I can take 10 or 15 minutes and eat something, but at least I'm stopping and taking care of myself so that I can be my best self for others. And so I'm so glad that you said that, and I couldn't agree more. And so, Harold, when you reflect back on your life and all the things that you've been through that have helped create the man we see today, what's something that really stands out to you in being really instrumental in who you are today?
I would say the challenges that I faced at first, right? So being a classified student, having struggled tremendously, I understand how it feels to be that student that doesn't necessarily like coming to school because of certain challenges. So because of those challenges, I would act out and I would find myself in the principal's office. And I jokingly share with a lot of kids and a lot of teachers and saying, well, that gave me experience to one day become a principal because I spent so much time in the principal's office. But I think it's been really helpful in just relating to people, right? I
Yeah.
wasn't your straight A student in elementary, middle school, or high school. Um, in undergraduate and graduate, and for my doctoral degree, I was, but it took a long time to get there. So, when you can put yourself in other people's shoes, I think it's helpful in just forming good relationships.
Mhm.
And it's been especially helpful in working with students in the RTI process, working with students that are becoming classified,
Right.
and letting them know that you can use these difficulties and turn them into strengths, which make you really unique. And I
Yeah.
think when they hear that from somebody that they respect, somebody they relate to, it goes a long way.
I love that. Well, Harold, thinking into the future, what's a goal you have for yourself?
I think a goal for myself, I think, is something that you touched on. It's balance,
Mm.
right? So, so often, we have goals and we link positions or status to them. I've been in administration for close to 8 years, as I mentioned before, and I love it. And I'm happy to be at the level I'm at. I'm happy to work with the teachers I work with. I'm happy to work with the kids that I work with and their families. So I will link my goals and the place that I want to be at a destination of balance and happiness. And I think that's something that so many of us can and should hopefully strive for.
I was going to say, that's going to be a long working goal as you continue to work your way and then work your way again to it. So I love that. Well, Harold, one way that I always love to end these conversations is I believe as people, there are so many things we hold close to who we are and our beliefs and everything. And so for anybody listening or watching this conversation today, if there is one thing they leave with, what is your one thing for them?
Wow, I think that's the hardest question you've asked me so far. Um, if people watching today can leave with one thing and take that and hold it with them, I think it would probably be to concentrate less on a final destination and focus more on the journey and getting there, right? I think there's great value in that. And I think wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you want to do it well and you want to be happy doing it.
Right.
So if you can do all of those things, I think ultimately that's my definition of being successful. So if you can leave with that, I think you've accomplished a lot.
I love it. Well, Harold, I have so enjoyed this conversation today, and I really appreciate you sharing some time with me.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you, everybody, for checking out another episode of Tell Your Story. Remember, you can check out all the past episodes on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, wherever you get your stuff, it's there. I hope today's conversation with Harold has encouraged you to get out there and tell your story because every story matters.